Babe Ruth, Barack Obama, Lady Gaga, Morgan Freeman, even LeBron James. What do all these people have in common? Now you might be saying to yourself, they're all very famous or they're all very good at their profession. What if I told you they're also all left-handed? Here we see Babe Ruth in the lefty batter's box, Obama signing pretty important documents with his left hand, or even something as simple as LeBron laying the ball off with his left hand. I bet none of you knew that though. Because 89% of the population is right-handed. But what about that 11% of us that go unrecognized? Growing up in elementary school, I struggled with things like desks, scissors, writing in 3-ring binders, or even writing long essays, because the graphite would always get out of my hands. Right? And now my friends, they wouldn't have no problem with it because they were right-handed. They would write in their binder effortlessly, or they would be able to rest their arm on the desk nice and easy. Mine would droop down to the floor. But I knew that those challenges weren't unique to me. They were challenges for all left-handed people. It became a nightmare. But growing up playing baseball, I would wonder why I would just get stuck in the outfield, where all my friends could run around in the infield playing whatever position they want, hitting in the righty's batter's box, and I would be the only one on the left. Frank Carter, he'd be in the righty's batter's box. JP would even be in the batter's box, but then there's me in the lefty one. But I realized that these challenges weren't unique to me. I realized that they also were advantages when I would look at the MLB. Here we see Ken Griffey here, arguably one of the best left-handed hitters of all time. When we look at Ken Griffey Jr.'s stats, we see that he had a 291 batting average with 444 home runs and over 1,000 RBIs against right-handed pitchers in his career. But if we take a look at him against left-handed batting, he only had a 269 batting average with 186 home runs and only 500 RBIs against left-handed pitchers in his career. Now, one will argue that, he had more home runs than RBIs because he had more plate appearances since there was more righties in the game pitching to him. But I believe that it's because, as a lefty, you have an advantage facing a righty because the ball, it comes in easier and you're able to see it. Whereas if you're in the lefty batter's box, it's a lot harder to pick up on the pitch. Let's take a look at pitchers. Randy Johnson, one of the most dominant left-handed pitchers of all time, arguably one of the best pitchers of all time, totaled over 1,200 strikeouts against right-handed batters. He only struck out about 250 left-handed batters. Like I said before, that also could be because there's way less left-handed batters. I still believe that's because he's just so dominant from the left-hand side. He also had over 300 career victories and 4,875 strikeouts, and that's the 5th most by a left-hander in MLB history. Now, even though we can clearly see that being a left-handed baseball player, whether it be a batter or pitcher, has its perks, one downside is the amount of positions you can play is limited. The left-handed position players are only really able to play the outfield and pitch, and possibly first base. Whereas a right-handed player can play every single position in the game. The other downside is it's a lot harder to hit the baseball, like I said, when facing a left-handed pitcher. These may seem like hard challenges to face while being left-handed, but the advantages that come playing the sport as a lefty override. Now let's take a look at boxing. We take a look at Manny Pacquiao, a left-handed boxer. He has a career record of 62-8-2, which includes 32 wins by knockout. Pacquiao is also the only boxer in history to win 12 major world titles in 8 different weight divisions. Take a look over here. We see all of his belts and his accomplishments. He also has the most welterweight championships, and he beat most champions in boxing 23 times. Let's take a look at another boxer, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. He's also a left-handed boxer. Marvin Hagler is a retired boxer who also won the middleweight boxing title and held it consistently for multiple years. He has a record of 67-3 and is widely regarded as arguably the greatest southpaw of all time. He finished 57 of his opponents he faced with knockouts and successfully defended his belt 11 times by knockout. I like to believe personally that these boxers were so successful because they had advantages over their opponents who were mostly right-handed. When the opponents would train, it's hard to find southpaw, what you call left-handed boxers, southpaw trainers that they were able to spar against in order to prepare for guys like Pacquiao and Hagler. Whereas Pacquiao and Hagler had right-handed trainers and sparring partners, so they would have a much bigger advantage over their opponent. Let's take a look at, now you might be thinking, what does this have to do with being left-handed? Or, I'm sure like they would be good as if they were right-handed. Well, for starters, the reason, I said that already. Now, if you continue on about how being a lefty in a sport is a total advantage over your opponent, but sports aren't the only thing left-handed people have an advantage in. What about the other major industries in this world, such as the art and entertainment industry? Take a look at Jennifer Lawrence or Tom Cruise, for example. Obviously, most of us know Lawrence and Cruise are very talented movie stars and have risen to stardom over the years. Judging by my talk so far, you could probably assume that they are left-handed, which in fact they are. So that got me thinking, would they still be successful if they were right-handed? Some of you may be saying to yourself, obviously they would still be successful. They don't use their hands while being filmed for their movies. But the reason why I wonder about this is because of how their brain works. Let's take a look at this chart behind me here, so you can get a better understanding of what I'm talking about. According to a child education psychologist, author and former UCLA Associate Professor Charlotte Resnick, who's also left-handed, she believes when we're left-handed, our right brains are actually dominant, and that's where the creativity and institution are centered. So it's often easier for us to be creative than logical. And our brains more easily use both sides of the brain at once, so we have the advantage of also being more flexible in our thinking. So we take a look at the chart here. We see that for the right brain, which works for lefties, you see that you have the left side of body control, and that works for like music and art awareness, creativity, imagination, emotion, or even face recognitions. All things that you need to be successful in the acting industry. Whereas the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body, and that's more like number skills, math, written, spoken language, objectivity, analytical, logic, and reasoning. So that's more like textbook on the book stuff like that. So that's the question I had before. Would Jennifer Lawrence and Tom Cruise still be successful if they were right-handed? Well, it's a tough question to answer, but judging by the brain chart, one could argue that these two actors wouldn't have had nearly as much success as they do if they were right-handed. Obviously, some could say that they would because there's already plenty of actors and actresses that are right-handed, and some of them are the best, but I would have to disagree with them as a lefty myself. I think Lawrence and Cruise are good actors because their brain is more dominant than a right-handed person's brain when it comes to expressing emotions and roles that they play or being creative during their performances. While being left-handed gives you an advantage in the creativity part of life, it also creates advantages in problem-solving and spatial reasoning. What this means is that left-handed people are more likely to find solutions to harder problems and are able to think quickly in numerous and unexpected situations. A man by the name of Giovanni Sala wrote, "The results published in Frontiers show that left-handers outperform the rest of the sample when the tasks involve difficult problem solving, such as associating mathematical functions to a given set of data. This pattern of results was particularly clear in math adolescents." What this quote comes from is Sala did an escape room, and he had put left-handers in one room and right-handers in the other with the same task to be completed. The left-handers completed the task with almost 10 minutes left to spare, where the righties were struggling and had about 10 seconds left to finally complete it. This goes to show that different people think and solve problems differently just because of their hand dominance. This also shows that left-handed people have an advantage in problem solving and quick thinking. Additionally, left-handed people may be better at problem-solving tasks that require flexible thinking because they tend to have a stronger connection between the left and right-handed brain. This is something you should consider the next time you decide which friends you want to have in this people. Now, everything I've talked about leading up to the one question, I just kept asking myself this entire TED Talk process. Why? Why does any of this matter? It took me a while, but I finally figured out why all of this mattered. Left-handed people vaguely get recognized in society, if even at all. Everyone just assumes people are right-handed in this world, whether it comes to sitting classroom desks or coaching a baseball team. But I want that to end. I want to stop living in a world where left-handed people get swept under the rug. I would love for my future children to be left-handed without them having to worry about whether to be able to write in their binders at school without feeling embarrassed that they're struggling to do so, or wondering why the scissors are supposed to go on the hand that they aren't comfortable using. I want teachers to stop assuming that everyone in their class is right-handed, and instead buy a couple pairs of left-handed scissors for those who need it. I want younger Luke to realize it's okay to be different and to be left-handed. It's not a tough task for society to accomplish, but it would make a significant impact on the 11% of us. Thank you.